You can kill me, but you will never destroy me. It takes strength to resist the dark side.
Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
Are you kidding? Why the hell should I wait for you?
I know what it's like to try and rebuild a life. I had a bad day too, once.
If you're having nightmares, then welcome to the club. My name's Subaru Natsuki, and I am the Knight of Amelia.
Right now, all I can give you is just death.
It wasn't for you in particular.
You fought 100 men because it's not in your nature to run away.
If you are feeling disheartened, that you are somehow not enough, set your heart ablaze.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully everything's working fine. Everyone hears me just well enough. I don't know. I didn't do audio tests on some things, but oh well. Tis what it is at this point. Kind of stuck with it. So tonight, a little bit of a deviation from the usual plan. I normally start talking about and just weekly anime and stuff. I go into that. But there are a couple of things I do want to address first, namely to talk about some of the things that I've been reading, because I don't do that nearly enough. I don't talk about the things that I've actually been reading on these streams. Because there are plenty of things that don't have anime out yet that are definitely worth your time when it comes to the kind of stuff I cover. So I'm going to talk about two of those tonight. There are a couple of articles. We're going to talk about some anime that hold Guinness World Records. The Crunchyroll CEO's response to how anime is monetized. And, of course, like I said, the general thing for the night that I do, talking about anime and the weekly stuff. And yes, hail to you too, JM the Elite Fan. I appreciate it. Elf Waifu was robbed. Look, I'm kind of in the same boat as Lethal, where like if Freeran had lost to the Apothecary Diaries, I would have been like, I still kind of disagree with it, but I respect the decision because at least the Apothecary Diaries is a series that does genuinely compete with it. But in this case, losing to Solo Leveling, that's just that's a disaster. That's bullshit. We all know it. All right. So without further ado, I am going into. I'm not on camera because I am fueled by a Mike's Hard and like half of a Chicago style deep dish pizza. So I don't feel like being on camera all night and having the lights on me. It's been kind of hot around here today, so I am taking this chance to keep the light low and not have everything shining on me because that sucks. However, I will shine the light on a couple of things that I do want to talk about tonight. First of which being, can I make this bigger? There we go. I can make this bigger. This light novel. I'm being hyperbolic, but after your super on WW talking about how Sony had a hand in Solo Leveling's production, yeah, it sounded like pseudo marketing for the show. It effectively was. Yeah, it's look. There's a lot of fuckery that went on with those awards, and this it's hardly a surprise that Solo Leveling won. Like, I was predicting that when Solo Leveling got put on the list. Just because people love that series, it is the most watched thing here in the West. I still don't think it deserved to win just because it's popular. Okay? Popular doesn't equal good. If one of these anime is going to be around for an eternity, it's going to be Freeran or the Apothecary Diaries, not Solo Leveling. That's the big thing, is the moment Solo Leveling faded, all of the talk about it died. It was gone from public notice. Freeran, however, continues to be a topic of debate and something that people could. The good old rant. So, Hello, Ronnie. I appreciate you too. Don't worry, unlike Roman, I don't think you're gay. Polish off my Arnold Palmer and move into this. So, this is the first thing I did want to talk about tonight. Here we go. This is the actual picture of it. This is a light novel written by Brandon Varnell called How to Tame Your Dragon Karma. Now, this guy's a pretty prolific writer. From what I understand, he has a ton of books and a couple of very long series. But he's effectively a romance writer who really likes his harems and stuff, so respectable because harems are better than love triangles and all that bullshit. Pardon me, I'm really thirsty right now. Alcohol and caffeine is a great way to dehydrate yourself. Effectively, what this one was about is you have this half Japanese, half American guy who wants to be like a stage actor. But he sucks at it. So one of his friends sends him on a trip to Babylon for whatever reason. I'm going to do this poorly because it's funnier to do it that way to try and explain the plot of this. And there he ends up stumbling upon like the literal goddess Tiamat from Mesopotamian legend and sets her free. And now in this new era, after being chained up for thousands of years, she has no idea what the heck she's going to do with her life. So she decides to bum off of him and just sort of experience the modern world. What I can say about this one is I genuinely like enjoyed it more than I expected to. I've read a couple of other of Brandon's exactly. It's a little bit more interesting than that. But there is more than one dragon in this story, and I'm not talking about his dick, okay? I'm talking about actual dragons, but we'll get into that. Effectively, the plot of this is Tiamat is just living like an otaku in his apartment as he's trying to like make it as a stage actor. If you like the cover art, you might really like the interior art because it's a little bit more it shows a little bit more. Also, thank you, Muffler Tape, for being here. I don't think I said hello to Marcel. Like General Kenobi. Well, yeah. I should have said hi to you properly. Forgive me. I have failed. So, yeah. Our main character, Yoshihiro, is trying to make it as a stage actor. Meanwhile, this ancient dragon goddess is living in his apartment, watching anime and impersonating characters like Orihime from Bleach. And she talks like old English. So like, thou art mistaken. But they do it is a little bit on the risque side. I still think largely it's cleaner than it could have been. And this author is fairly active on Twitter. I've had a couple of interactions with him. I've brought up a couple of his tweets for the show to talk about stuff like that, stuff and all that. But I have a feeling the way he's writing this is going well, considering his history. He has like, how many novels does this guy have? Like 30. Pardon me. Oh God, that was bad. 30 something novels under his belt that he's written, all stuff like this. So, what I can say the good points of this one are dragon waifu, okay? Not only is she hot, she has a great personality. She's very fun to have in the story the whole way through. So it's entertaining to watch her like react to all like the modern stuff and have her like ancient takes on a lot of Yoshihiro's problems and all that. And the way like she constantly wants to act like a goddess, like she's in charge and like he's her servant, but he's the one doing everything and thus has the power in that relationship in many cases. And he just doesn't give a shit. Like she'll order him to do something and he'll just be like, yeah, whatever. If you're gonna bum off of me, you can at least be nice to me. But this one, I have been keeping an eye on it because this is like one of the first ones that he's released, I think, since I started following the guy actively. And I liked it. Genuinely would recommend if you're a fan of like light novels, particularly like fantasy-esque romances. This one's good. It also does a few little like lore drops about other gods who may or may not make appearances in this, like Jormungandr and Quetzalcoatl. And there are a lot of references to a bunch of different anime in here. Because, like I said, Dragon Lady decides she's going to spend all her time watching anime. It's a novel. And I believe he's starting to adapt some of his works into like manga or webcomics. But yeah, Brandon Varnell's stuff is very interesting. His other one is that I started reading was American Kitsune. That one I'm not as much of a fan of, but I can still appreciate it because it almost feels stereotypical, really. Because it is like timid main character and really, really aggressive box girl who wants nothing but to jump his bones. Oh, there is art inside. Yeah, there are a couple of art pages. So like there are illustrations for this, like 3 or 4 of them throughout the book, and most of them involve Tiamat in little to no clothing. So there you go. It's a fun little book to read. This one I genuinely do look forward to more, and I will probably keep picking these up as he releases them. The next one though is not by an American. Let's see if I can bring this up instead. That looks like the anime. This looks like here we go. Okay, I guess I'll use the Barnes and Nobles one. We'll go with this. So this is the other one that I read or started reading this week, which I didn't realize had an anime adaptation coming up this year. So that's a thing. Also, hello, the questioners. No, I stuffed half of a deep dish pizza into my face and drank a little bit, and I don't feel like being on camera right now because the heat from all the lights and shit will just make me miserable. I want to be attentive for the stream. I want to feel like I'm actually doing something. So if I had more hair, maybe it'd be okay. I'm kidding. No. Anyway, we'll talk about the other light novel that I have selected for tonight, the one that I've been kind of enjoying because it's a bit of a unique concept. So, My Friend's Little Sister Has It In For Me is the title of this one. And you can effectively sum this up as a harem novel, like a harem romance novel, but all of the women are tsunderes. They are all tsunderes. So like there are different like variants of tsundere. So the main character is basically getting teased by his best friend's little sister who clearly has a crush on him. And then there's his cousin / childhood friend who is like an absolute like hardcore abusive tsundere who wants absolutely nothing to do with him, but very clearly like is interested. And that's we're 2 in, and that's only about halfway through the first novel. I'm also pretty sure that the best friend is gay, and has a thing for the main character. Their super strict teacher is a drunk doujinshi artist, and she loves to draw like Shota doujins. There are a lot of really, really weird characters in this, but that's what makes it fun to read. Effectively, though, this is also like the backbone of the plot so far has centered around the main character is the director of like a small game dev group, and that consists of him, his best friend, the teacher that I mentioned that he is basically blackmailing into making her work with them, and a writer who isn't on site with them, so they don't actually know what the writer looks like. However, I'm pretty sure that the writer is his cousin, the really abusive tsundere, because that would check out. And so he has a deal with his uncle that if once he graduates, he and his crew effectively get positions at his uncle's game dev company because they did something as like a mobile project and they released it as like an indie game and it was a huge success. So his uncle respects the work and everything of his team and was like, and right now I've only seen it as a light novel. There may be a manga because there is an anime adaptation coming this year. Anyway, so main character Aki has a deal with his uncle where if he pretends to be his cousin's boyfriend until graduation, just to make sure that his cousin doesn't get bullied in school, he and his whole crew get positions as game devs, which is either what they want to do or just the better option for them rather than being a teacher. Oh man, that's an interesting situation there. But again, the cousin is a tsundere who pretends like she wants nothing to do with the guy, but I'm pretty sure it's a case of I'm just too embarrassed to be around you and I can't be honest kind of tsundere. I'm about halfway through this first novel. And it's all right. I wouldn't say it's the most amazing thing so far because there are a few like contrivances to it. But I feel like this could be a fun anime coming up. So that is kind of what I wanted to talk about starting off tonight. Those are the two big things. The other one I've been reading is Witch Hat Atelier. That's definitely something that I feel like is worth a note because it's just so damn good. Especially considering the state of Harry Potter in like recent years. It feels like this is a good option to sort of shift away from that. Oh, there's also Peddler in Another World that I've been reading, but this is one that I've been reading for upwards of a year and just recently got a new addition to that whole thing. Peddler in Another World is fun, but it is kind of a sloppy isekai series for the most part. Its writing does tend to skip over things that the author seems to struggle with. And they like things that are inconvenient for the author. But for the most part, I like the characters. I like the concept of it. It's just kind of like genuinely like a fun thing to pick up and read. And there's 10 novels available for that one. Don't get me started on Harry Potter. Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah. Witch Hat Atelier right now is a lot of the things that made Harry Potter good, but in manga form. That is effectively how I would describe it. Is if you enjoyed Harry Potter, like the books, you'll probably like Witch Hat Atelier. can close that out, and that out. And we can bring up the thing that everyone is. Oh, you know what? I knew there was something I was forgetting. Which hat will be looked at? Really good stuff. I think potential freer and sleeper level of popularity, even though it's more for female audiences. I think Apothecary Diaries. I don't think it's necessarily for female audiences. It just has most of its cast is female. It's as simple as that. Sorry, I gotta hook up the big screen for this. I don't need the camera since I am not on camera tonight. So I can pull my notes up and I can have my comments, my notes, and the stream, and the tier list all at once. Because I like to have my cake and eat it too. Well, I mean, no fan service in general. Okay, I guess you could make the point that way, but I feel like Witch Hat Atelier is one of those ones that just doesn't need the fan service to be good. I'll try to get around to that. I've been looking for something to just like sit down and binge lately, something that I can pick up while I'm like on break at work or whatever, because that's when I read the most consistently. As either like right after this stream, I will like sit outside on the deck and let the dog run the yard and read something, or during work on my lunch breaks I'll read. But yeah, that's effectively where I am. Like those are the big things that I've been reading. Let's talk about the anime now, because that is kind of what everyone is expecting me to do. So here's where we left off as of last week. Some good things happened with the Two Perfect Saint. A lot of this stuff, like I don't remember if I dropped anything, but really, like the big moves were some of the other ones around here up in the very good category were basically the biggest movers. And I can effectively say that I've done two things now. I don't know if I talked about it last week, but I caught up on To Be Hero X. So we're caught up on that. And I've been working on Uma Musume. I'm about 4 episodes into Uma Musume now. It would have been 5, but I ended up going on a little bit of a side quest today and doing some other stuff. Mostly because, well, my whole Minecraft mod platform decided it was going to break. So I may have just lost like an entire like half a year's worth of working on a world. And I'm trying to figure out what the fuck to do with that. But that's neither here nor there. I don't need to be depressing about it because honestly, it doesn't really bother me to have to restart a Minecraft world. The beginning part of Minecraft is always the most fun, to be entirely honest. Potentially, I've got to look into it. It literally happened while I was like, I went to boot it up, and was going to install a couple of new mods into it. And sorry, I'm blanking here. I booted it up, went to install a couple of new mods for some boss fights to make the end game on that world a little bit more fun, to add some more challenges and stuff, other than just building structures or exploring the world. And in the process, I managed to break the whole pack and it's been borderline unfixable. But since I was binging today, I couldn't sit down and do a deep dive to fix it. So, yay, fun stuff. It's not like the world corrupted, it's like the whole pack broke. So, awesome. Oh, well, I'm not too concerned about it because, like I said, I can just start a new world, and that's fun enough for me. It is what it is. So, let's actually talk about anime now. We'll get to that Marcel, okay? We genuinely will, but that's going to be like later down the list because I'm going to start from the top with Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire. So in this episode, we get a lot of Liam thirsting over Amagi and like having this like I don't know, sort of like forbidden love thing going on. All right, have a good night, JM. Thanks for stopping by and hanging around. So with Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire, like I said, Liam spends a lot of this time on this forbidden love thing with Amagi. And then of course we get the guide trying to screw over Liam, and that's how somehow the Ghost Pirates return. I knew it was gonna happen because they were way too ambiguous about how uh about what happened to the Ghost Pirates. But I was really hoping that it just wouldn't be a thing. Of course, we do get the contrivance route, but that is it. And now we're going to war with this show. It's not bad. I just feel like the Ghost Pirates um coming back and like starting this whole war or whatever is a tad bit contrived, in all honesty. I knew it was going to happen, much like I knew Solo Leveling was going to win Anime of the Year, but it was just a contrived way of going about this. So, oops. Yeah, that was a thing. Will I move it up or down? I'm not really going to move this one anywhere because genuinely I feel like it stays right there. I don't think it did anything that really made me want to like hate it or whatever. There were some entertaining parts of this. It just felt like the big important things that happened were spread in there amid a few like filler things that are just kind of thrown out there to give us some information about like characters who just aren't really all that important to what's going on here, like the robot maids. Not my favorite episode is effectively what that says. Um, moving on along down the line, though, we go to the unaware Atelier Meister. This one, yet again, is going down another contrived plot line, but that's this entire show. It is that kind of a show. So we have the plan to save Hildegard. We have Lisa, where they're just going to infiltrate the mansion and set her free. There's Lisa's confession plan, which doesn't go as she wanted. And now, of course, we have an evil aristocrat. Who could have seen that coming? I can't really move this one much lower because while I do get some level of enjoyment out of it, I do not think it is like an amazing series. I find the way they go about the plot in this one, not really my thing, but the interactions between the characters and its sense of humor at times, I do find appealing. William Simon would have your head uh, if it wasn't you saying that. With this show, it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to place it other than just okay. Like, I get a level of enjoyment out of it. Sure, it's fun to watch. I don't hate it, but it's hard to really say that it's amazing. So, and it's going to stay right there. Same with the next one. I don't really see the need to move Yandere Dark Elf up and around or anything. With this episode, we get the whole cosplay thing. Where Sakura, we find out Sakura is a huge nerd and she wants to use Belle and Belle and Hinata as her models for her latest work that she's going to sell at the comics market. Belle definitely wants her hands on everything in this one, which is interesting. It wasn't like a terrible episode. It just feels like each episode is like, oh well, it's the flavor of the week kind of thing. Like there's no coherence to any sort of story in this, and it's just okay. What flavor of lewd do we want to do this week? And that's the kind of stuff I genuinely like. That's the kind of stuff that I genuinely don't care for when it comes to the ecchi genre. Is like you're literally just doing things to have lewd in a different setting. At least when it comes to great cosplay though by the Dark Elf. Yes, the cosplay by Belle was good. When it comes to stuff like please put the Miss Takamine, which is the next one, we'll just move right into because it's a convenient way to segue. Look at that. Okay, back on track. At least when it comes to please put them on Miss Takamine, there's a level of like coherence to the like the plot throughout all of the episodes that makes them seem like a logical order or a logical series of events that aren't just like helter skelter random things that happen. Okay? It isn't specifically just a flavor of the week thing. That's what I mean in like the difference in storytelling quality like when it comes to stuff like this. With this one, I'm actually moving it back up to the interesting category. Yes, this exactly. I actually like the story that this series is telling. Now, in this episode, we get the lesbian blonde thing, which her being into girls, I kind of saw that one coming. That checks out. Hot blonde lesbian, especially after you first meet the coworker, and she's like, "I'll be off in an hour," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess they basically confirmed that she's into chicks." But of course, that doesn't deter Takamine from being jealous because she thinks that she's into Shirota and she gets all possessive and everything. And she like tries to do the whole "I'm gonna overwrite your memories in this park so that you only think of me" thing. And then the second half of this episode is just her acting like a cunt to Shirota as he tries to be really nice to her. Like he's going out of his way to like get her gifts and like be nice to her. And she decides that she's just gonna be a cunt about it because I want you to relax and enjoy yourself. And like he's just trying to be nice to you, bitch. Like he cares about you. You dumb cow. I don't know. That part annoyed me. To be honest, like I just it irked me that she would be so like brutal to him and like undo every time he tried to do something nice for her. Like the coupons, sure. Like if you have coupons for free drinks, sure. But bro literally bought you a gift and was taking you on a boat ride, and you decided that you were going to be a bitch about that too. So, what the hell, man? What the hell? Shirota can't catch a break. So I do think this one belongs more in the interesting category because it does consistently have a more coherent plot. It isn't just flavor of the week episode for a short little burst of lewdness in a different setting, like Machina San's a Love Bot or like Yandere Dark Elf. But I still don't think its plot is the most amazing thing out there. It could easily be better. There are a lot of things production-wise that could have been done much better. But it's hardly a bad example of an ecchi anime. I will say that. I will give it the credit it deserves. At least insofar as its story goes, you can tell that there is an attempt. Yeah, but she also wants to be nice to him, and he always does something before she has a chance. Yeah. Yeah, the thing on the boat was pretty over the top. All right. So that basically gets all of the lewd stuff out of the way. At least the explicitly lewd stuff. We're going to move on now to the beginning after the end. So we can talk about its Family Matters episode. I have to question the world of like a world where students at an academy basically get to act like they're tough shit over a bunch of like other people. That seems really fucking stupid. I need some more explanation for that in the world building. But Arthur takes on an apprentice in all of this. He teaches his younger sister and I don't know, a new member of his harem to use magic in this episode, which is about the most interesting thing that happens. I mean, there was about to be a huge scuffle between some high and mighty academy students, and Arthur was about to kick their asses, but people decided that they were going to intervene and, shut that whole thing down. It's still just weird to me that the students have so much sway and power in this city. There's something like genuinely off about that. But there was more of the family message sort of thing, like the family unit matters kind of thing going on in this, where you see I don't remember her name, the other family's daughter, the one that's Arthur's age, sort of being depressed because she feels like her mother and father focus more on Arthur than anything else, and all she really wants to do is just awaken her magic so that she can go to the academy like her parents plan. But given how this series has already established itself as kind of like a generic brand fantasy, none of it really comes off very well. Like, I don't hate it anymore, because at least it's shown some improvement by episode 6, but it's still just a middle of the pack okay anime. When I say middle of the pack okay, I mean it is literally in the middle of the okay section. That is right where it belongs. Because frankly, I don't think you get much worse than the beginning after the end. It's just how it goes. And also, as to this, that's the only lewd anime that we're watching. We're done with all the lewd anime and stuff. It doesn't mean that there won't be more lewdness at some point in here. Because I guess we could kind of talk about the Pop Steps ass scene in the newest Vigilantes, or we can talk about the few like scattered nude scenes and all of that go on throughout here. But hey. But to wrap up my talk on the beginning after the end this week, it really screwed itself with the way it began. It ended as it began, honestly. That's what it should be called at this point. This is a series that could have done well if you had given it to a studio who actually knew how to animate. If you had given it to a studio that actually could have given it a decent if you could have given it to a studio that could have given it a decent level of visual appeal, it probably would have stuck around in people's memory for much longer. But a lot of people dropped it after the first couple of episodes showed that the animating studio, ACAT, did not know what they were doing. And that really screwed this whole thing over because the story isn't horrible. It's workable, genuinely. Even in spite of some of it being a little bit more dodgy than I would have liked. But it thus far has not proven to be a good anime. So, hey. What has proved to be I think the whole relationship between the family isn't done well. They feel very cold and distant, though it was a bit better in the manhwa. But that was probably just my brain filling out blanks. Potentially. I do agree with the critique that the family does not feel as close-knit as they could. That's one of the big reasons why I don't say the story is amazing, is because it has this whole emotional core to it, focused around that family unit, and it does not do a good job of selling that family unit. There is a surprising lack of interest from anyone in that family. Well, that's enough of the beginning after the end. We're going to talk about one that I actually do really enjoy. One that I think has made significant improvements since about since about the 4th episode, I would say, actually. Because the sister revenge plot is something else when it comes to the Two Perfect Saints. This is one I do genuinely want to move up. We're moving this up a good bit. Family is what makes Mushoku Tensei. So yeah, that means the beginning after the end is a whiff to me. Yeah, like I said, it does a lot of things similar to Mushoku Tensei. It just doesn't do them as good. But Two Perfect Saints. So with this, Julius is effectively done. Of course, we know where this is going with everything that's happened and with Julius being tempted with the ring already. Lord of the Rings reference. Lord of the Rings. He's been tempted by the demon ring. But in this episode, effectively, Mia gets her revenge. She's finally able to take down Prince Julius and thwart his assassination attempts. It becomes very embarrassing for him. But we still have the major threats in the series with at least 3 episodes looming over our heads. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I genuinely don't doubt it. Let's be genuine here. Sauron is probably one of the more ridiculously overpowered characters in fiction. This is really the point at this so far is if it hadn't been for the Mia subplot, this one probably would have faded into obscurity. But because it has that A and B plot that kind of coincide pretty well, where you start out with Philia and you get the happy part of it, and then it eases you into the revenge plot that basically becomes the tail end of this series. It ends up being a pretty good entry this season. One that I feel like genuinely deserves a sleeper title because it takes a little while, but when it gets going, the Mia stuff actually is good. I'm curious to see whether they're going to wrap this up in the next 3 episodes or not, because that kind of feels like what's going to happen is Julius is going to pull some bullshit. He's going to run and go search for the ring, or the ring's going to find its way into his hands. He's going to put it on, and he's going to become the Archdemon Asmodeus. And then, of course, there's going to be an all-out fight to the end. Is there a mild bit of contrivance in this with Ophelia and her mother? Yes. That I genuinely do feel like that may not be its strongest point, but it does sort of help frame everything that's sort of happened. It kind of borders along the line of tragedy porn in a sense, because you're effectively jamming all this hardship in there to just like, oh, well, the character actually had this going against her and this going against her too. But everything else has been pretty good so far. So that's why this one has moved up quite a bit. So from Two Perfect Saint, we move on to the Brilliant Healer's new life in the shadows. And of course, we basically meet a life stealer dude who has the ability to redistribute life force. He's basically like Bernie Sanders, but with souls. Xenos is officially into the group. So he has infiltrated. He just now needs to climb the ranks and figure out what's going on. Yeah, I enjoyed it at the start when it comes to Two Perfect Saint. I enjoyed it at the start. It's gotten way better as time has gone on, and I do kind of hope that there is some sort of reunion between Philia and her quote unquote aunt, who is actually her mother. But back down to Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadows. This episode effectively hinges around a dude basically being used as a glorified butler and healing a dog that somehow managed to get away from a dude who was able to move at superhuman speeds previously. You know what I think about that, questioners? Do you know what I think about that? Here it is.
Silence, you glorified wad of trash, or I'll squash you like a roach!
I'm pressing the wrong things. Okay, there we go. So basically, we get our cocky ass or redheaded dude learning his place because our main character healed a shitty little dog. Okay, look, I made fun of Pilgrim for hating on corgis a while back, but like genuinely, those fluffy little like terrier shits. That's some bullshit. Like fuck those tiny ass little dogs. That is not an actual dog. Fight me. Fight me. But I kind of see where this is going. It looks like we may have this guy who can redistribute life force, stealing life force from other people that he finds particularly talented. It kind of looks like where this plot is going. And again, the animation is for the most part, other than like random bursts. And its plot really isn't all that interesting either. Like, I don't know, it feels like it's one of the more predictable things that's going on this season. But there's some value to it. It's still somewhat enjoyable. It's just not the most amazing thing that you could be watching. And if you had to pick from anything, this would probably be like one of the last ones that I would choose. Man, I got it bad tonight. So yeah, Brilliant Healer is just gonna stay right there. Okay. The Apothecary Diaries. Oh boy. Okay. Most fluffy little animals are okay. It's just not like yappy little like mustache having poofy dogs that you could pick up in your hand and squeeze into a snowball. I'm sorry, but like I have a thing against small dogs since they almost always want to fucking bite me. It's not even like I'm doing anything. It's like, hey, little bud, how you doing? I'm gonna put my hand down here for you to sniff it so that you don't react to me trying to pet you. And then I get nipped at. Little shits. The Apothecary Diaries. All right. Let's actually talk about something that I am excited about. Okay. And China number one. Okay. Speaking of China and eating dogs, the Apothecary Diaries. Let's actually get into this. So with this one, we have War on the Horizon. We get a whole lot of stuff about Shenmei, which raises some questions of like who's actually in charge of all this, what's going on here. And we also get a little bit of characterization on Lolan, which is interesting. And I don't know, I kind of the way it frames it, I kind of feel bad for her in a sense. Same with Shisui. Or not Shisui. Shisui and Lolan. Shisui and Suirei, I get those two confused. Suirei is the one I feel more bad for. But of course, in all of this, really the climax of this week's episode is what Jinshi is getting up to now. Jinshi and Lakan. So the strategist and the head eunuch are now basically in league, it seems like. And they seem to have a plan as to how to deal with all of this, which will be interesting, but who knows how all this is going to go. I mean, you're effectively like, I know that we're only dealing with like flintlock weaponry here, but there's a reason that flintlocks eventually replaced swords. Do you know why? Because rifles are much more effective weapons than swords, because with a rifle you can take someone out without having to get close. I rest my case. I know a lot of people will say like bow and arrow and all that, but like there's a difference between like using a bow and arrow and the level of training that is required to operate them. You can give a peasant a musket and be confident that they'll be able to kill people. You cannot give a peasant a sword or a bow and be confident that they'll be able to kill people in war. Yeah, I don't know where this is all going. I expect it to be a pretty good resolution considering Apothecary Diary's track record, but who knows? It has to be stumped on this one. Yeah, well, an armor enemy is also going to be able to survive an arrow or most weapons, in fact. Really, unless you're using like a Becta Corbin or a spear or a pike or something, armor's pretty effective. But I digress. it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. But oh geez, looks like I need to do a reset on my computer here at some point. Sword of the Demon Hunter. That's the next one on the list. Shinigami, bro, is a real hassle. And insofar as this goes, yeah, I do know some bows actually can pierce armor. And well, I'm more so talking colloquially. Because if we really want to get into the specifics, old school chest plates actually could deflect a musket ball, okay? Like old school steel chest plates can deflect a musket ball. That's the thing. People have actually like talked about that and gone over it and like how much it actually protects. Will it consistently hold? No, you'll maybe get like 1 or 2 shots of protection off of it, and then the armor will be compromised to the point where like another shot will take it out. But it's still better than going in completely unarmed, and you're still going to have weak points. But at that point, we're dealing with like early firearms, which aren't particularly accurate or known for like being as high powered as some of the things that we use these days. So I get it. Like it's a little bit more complicated than that. But when you're talking colloquially about like what people actually know about these and what the common conception is, you would expect someone to answer that, yeah, a musket would shoot through a knight's armor. Okay, Sword of the Demon Hunter. So the dude using the shadow puppets are Megami Fushiguro Light. Turns out to be a real hassle, a real dick to deal with. But that whole situation with Natsu does get resolved, and unfortunately for her, she ends up remembering the whole thing and being utterly embarrassed about it. And then, of course, at the very end of the episode, we get the most interesting part of this, the modern setting part. Now, we saw this earlier in the series, where there was a brief flash at the end of the first episode where we saw some of this. However, we didn't really get much. We just got a brief glimpse. We actually get like a full-on like couple of minutes set in this. We get like characters talking and some things actually set up, and we see Genia actually attending school, which is really weird because the dude's practically ancient. That's nasty, man. But yes, that is true. I mean, you can also use infected dead bodies for biological warfare, like the Mongols did. Or no, it was the Huns. So yeah, this episode was particularly interesting. There was a lot of good things going on here, even though the resolution to certain parts of it turned out to be like nothing burgers effectively. But I do like the way it's handled certain characters, and I have my doubts that this is going to move into a modern setting. Like, I genuinely doubt that this is going to move into a modern setting because there's too many things that have been set up. Like, to answer this question, like, I doubt that we're going to get that sort of a thing because there are certain characters who have been introduced who have had roles that seem like they're going to be somewhat important to things that just haven't had their chance to play out in the story. So I really doubt we're actually going full modern storytelling. I feel like this is a bit of foreshadowing for closer to the end of the series. which, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we have an episode count on this. Yeah, so there's no official episode count on Sword of the Demon Hunter. This could go for 24 episodes. And like the last quarter of it could be a like high school setting, and this is just the teaser to that. Or like that could be how the season ends. But I really do doubt that we're going to get a full on like time shift. And if we do, I don't think it'll be permanent because I feel like there's a bunch of other things that have to happen. Because remember, what the chick says at the beginning of the series is, I couldn't believe the story he would tell me. So there's a lot of things that are going to have to happen here in these 200 years for this whole thing to get, for us to get to the modern era. Man, this guy's going to get freaky. Okay, let's move on and keep going. So yeah, it's cool that they're teasing some of this stuff, but I feel like it's way too early to be jumping to the future, and I doubt that they're actually going to do it. So that's my thoughts on that. Yaiba. Let's talk about Yaiba. I don't know. Wasn't a huge fan of this episode, honestly. Like it was, I don't know. Some of Yaiba's more shonen elements have been sort of wearing on me lately. Like the new technique is cool and the animation is still good, and now we're approaching the final battle effectively, and that's cool. But I mean, Kojiro is casually just like switching sides, and he's like trying to steal the sword, and now he's like raiding Onimaru's castle with them and all that. How did that happen? I feel like some things are just like skirting by too easily, and the plot's not really considering how a lot of this is working. It's definitely making more of a joke of things than I would have liked, given how it started. But so be it. It's hardly the worst case scenario. Overall, still do like the series. There are some things that I find questionable, but it's just not been as good lately. And that's all I really have to say about Yaiba. A rank party, though, this is another one that's kind of been struggling later as it's gone on. So with A rank party, we're now dealing with like a full-on world-ending threat. Like this whole series is going to end this season. Checks out, because apparently there are only like 5 light novels for this. We do have the dickhead older brother trope who wants to come in and fuck everything up because he thinks he knows better. Congratulations. That I feel like is a little bit forced. And now we have the push for Yuke to fight the Demon King, as if that isn't like an end of the story kind of thing to do. So effectively, we have the void pouring into this world, and the whole world's going to get inverted or whatever. And I don't know. I feel like some of their explanations for this stuff have like kind of lost me. I really don't like. I at first I liked their world building. I thought it could lead to some interesting things. But really, all it has led to is just the same plot arc over and over and over again. Something bad is happening in a dungeon. We must investigate. Okay, we're investigating. This could end the world. Let's send in the hero, Yuke, this guy who only became an A-rank adventurer not too long ago. And we'll have him do all the heavy lifting. Mazel tov, yeah. Or however you say that. I don't even know why I'm acting like that. This is just water. But yeah, A-rank party. I don't know. It's starting to feel like a trudge with every episode of A-rank party. Like every episode I go into it, I'm like, all right, well, let's get through this. Come on, I can do it. You can do it. You can survive. And I haven't done a review on this one yet because I've been waiting for the full like series to, be a thing. Which may not seem like a very fair point considering I do a lot of reviews early on for some of these series and get my initial impressions and stuff. But with like stuff that's gonna run 2 cours like back to back, I'm gonna at least let it run its course. And if I drop it, then I'll make a video on it. This one though is definitely one that has struggled in the second cour. It hit a high in the first, and then from there it has basically been downhill and on a steeper incline with every passing episode. Really, I'm only watching it at this point because I'm committed. I want to see if like he at least, takes all of the girls to bed at some point. Because that's about the only thing that I think would make me satisfied with watching this whole thing is if he just like full on has his harem at the end. But if it turns into a well, we don't actually know who he ended up with sort of situation, fuck me. I wasted my time. So that one actually gets to move down below Yandere Dark Elf because it just, I don't know. I'm feeling the struggle to get through it every single time. Shoshimin. I mean, I can quickly talk about Shoshimin effectively. We have another episode in the hospital where we kind of get a flashback to how Kobato and Osanai met. And we get a little bit of interesting lore on them and all the things that are like happening there. But this episode didn't really do a whole lot to sort of like help establish anything that's worth talking about. That's one of the big things. Is there's a lot of like setup in this episode that isn't really worth talking about, and it's going to be in the payoff where all of this stuff actually matters. So I can't say much about Shoshimin this week. It's just going to stay right there. Isn't he already together with like 3 or 4 of them, but they won't show anything explicit? As far as I'm aware, the only thing that's happened is he's had his sort of like intimate moment with Rain, but like nothing else significant has even really happened. Like, I know there was the whole thing where like Rain kissed him and then nothing else. Like you could at least just like end it off with a little bit of I don't know how that man does it. They're all coming on to him and he's not doing anything. Like, damn, that's impressive. That is a strong will right there. From Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman. So this episode, we actually get some entertainment out of. We get Beryl and his adventuring student chasing a horse, and Beryl ends up befriending a horse. That happens. Befriending a horse by cutting a tree to cross a river. Congratulations. We do get Miui showing a bit of a nice side in this episode where like she actually like shows appreciation to Beryl for everything he did and like goes out of her way to like get him a gift and everything. That's nice. But then she immediately returns to like angsty teen shortly after when her father figure Beryl decides to see her off to school on the first day. Which, like, I get it. I was in that phase in my life too, so I understand how it was. But like, I don't know. It was a thing. And then in all of this, we basically end this episode with Beryl being reunited with another one of That's some harem protagonist power, constantly naked women around him and tossing them away. Yes, genuinely. The only thing denser than a neutron star is a harem protagonist, okay? But yeah, apparently we have another one of Beryl's students being brought in this time, and she's all excited to see Beryl. This is going to be a very interesting thing to see how all this plays, especially with Alicia, now very clearly being upset that someone else is, around her man. I enjoyed this episode, but I wouldn't say that it is like the most amazing thing out there. It easily could have been better, could have been handled better. At least these past couple of episodes, and that probably would have made this more enjoyable. But this is a good turnaround, especially after last week, which felt like a huge side quest and a filler episode. Witch Watch. Okay, so Witch Watch, now when it comes to this latest episode with the Ottoman, stuff, that that made me think of my good friend RG Energy, with the way he's basically being used as a piece of furniture and like the whole like femdom thing that's going on there. Because like I don't know, that's the kind of stuff the dude is into. It was entertaining, to say the least. To where like you have this whole like married man superhero kind of thing going on. It's kind of a gag and all that. Like I thought it was funny. Of course, we do get Khan failing in his first job because he doesn't play his script right. That's a thing. But effectively, the big gag for this episode was the super speed curse. And Khan being stuck in super speed mode for 3 days. I genuinely did think that part was funny. Like he is like it's not making me any faster. It just makes everything else around me slower. So like he's still experiencing the same amount of time passing on his end while he's doing this stupid job. It's just everything else around him is passing slower. Like that part was hilarious. And he's like losing his mind, and then he learns how to move and talk slowly so he can communicate with people. That was gold, okay? Like genuinely 30 days for him. Yes. He spent 30 days like that. Brilliant. This episode of Witch Watch was really good. I'm glad that this one has been turning out good because I was looking forward to that one. And Shirley. Moving Anne Shirley down. It's weird because when it comes to that one, like from what I'm seeing, the episode count is 24 and we're only at episode 9, and it feels like we're running out of things to cover. Oh yeah, and the backlash when he goes back to normal again right at the end. Yeah, that was funny. That was an entertaining part. But with Van Shirley, it feels like we're kind of like skipping over a bunch of stuff to get like closer to the end of the series. It's kind of weird. It's one of those things where I feel like it started off well, and as it's gone on, it's just, I don't know, gotten less interesting and less interesting. We do have Anne avoiding Gilbert still, and there's some tension between them. Her homesick episode, and of course we have like Matthew's impending death that they've kind of been foreshadowing for a while here. But like I don't know. I feel like it was fun for a while to see Anne like get into all this trouble and do stupid stuff because she's a dumb girl or an over imaginative girl, I should say. It's not fair to call her dumb. But I'm at the point now where like I don't know if I really want to put up with much more of that. It's like I'm 9 episodes in and it feels like we're moving at like a really fast pace. So this may end up being one that I just don't continue in the second cour. All right, we're out of water. Time to get through the rest of these. How many more do I have? So we got Anne Shirley. It looks like we got 1 page left. Okay. So we're about 2/3 of the way through. So the next one to talk about. A ninja and assassin under one roof. So in this episode, we get the Psycho Stalkers episode with all the ghosts coming back to sort of haunt the two. Turns out that ghosts are not immune to Satoko's ability, which was kind of funny because they are dead things. They aren't living things, so that was entertaining. And then it basically becomes a casual haunting as time goes on. So I did really enjoy this episode. Like the whole ghost thing was genuinely funny to me. And like Satoko basically going right back to posting on social media. Right after getting posting on social media was the thing that got them in trouble. There are a lot of like funny parts about this latest episode. And of course we get the heaven scene with all the dead ninja and stuff. And of course there is Leader being haunted by the yandere ex-girlfriend. So genuinely fun episode. That one was pretty funny again. Still bummed about the girl before. Yeah. Yeah. That one kind of hurt. The last episode kind of hurt, and that one's gonna sting for a little while, but so be it. Outside of that, there's not much else to say. Like it's holding its position at the very good part for me, honestly. Lazarus. Oh, I said a little bit about this on Monday, I think. But Lazarus had its worst character episode yet. Or worst episode yet. It genuinely did. Like it felt like of all the side quests they had been on, this one was the most side questy of them all. And it came with the worst character moment in the whole show thus far. Outside of the popcorn wizard bullshit that annoyed me, like this was probably one of the worst character things that has happened so far. Like I don't care that the blonde Russian chick is a lesbian. Okay, that's not the problem. It just felt like that whole thing was a forced sidetrack that didn't need to happen. There's shit happening, like the oil rig catching fire. And some other random stuff. It's just, I felt like this episode genuinely wasted my time. Like, why would you do this? Sure, the action was cool, but I couldn't care less about anything that happened in this episode. You fight some Spetsnaz. Okay, cool. Find out that your blonde chick working with you is a lesbian Spetsnaz. Cool. What else? Yeah, I'm not sure on some of this stuff. easily the worst episode of Lazarus. I enjoyed everything up until this point, but this is easily the worst episode of Lazarus in the whole thing. Harem Season 2. So this week, we get the birthday episode of Harem, where they both end up having their birthday on the same day, which is a weird thing. And they both get each other the same thing, which is a life-sized copy of Rido. I don't know where you get something like that made, but I'm impressed. Like a life-sized doll. And what was that torpedo at the end that randomly showed up to save the main character? I guess I must have zoned out. Are we talking about the bird drone that the blonde dude was piloting from a fake iceberg? Look, I still genuinely do enjoy Lazarus overall. It's just, I don't know. It does not feel as good as other Shinichiro Watanabe projects. I would have to say this is probably, like, at this point, I would probably say this is the weakest of his creations. I like Samurai Champloo. Not as much as Cowboy Bebop. I love Cowboy Bebop. And I haven't seen Space Dandy, but I do hear good things about it. With Lazarus. Anyway, back to Ahar in season 2. The giant dolls. Like where do these two get these freaking gifts? Like, that is a ridiculous thing to give your partner, but apparently it's a great gift for them. Of course, we also meet Aharon's mother, who is just as kooky as everyone else in the family. I'm just glad that this one actually focused on some like Rido and Aharon stuff going on. I enjoyed that much. It's just, where do you get giant life-size copies of yourself? Much less. Oh, then I definitely must have missed that. Yeah, like swimming in that water would not have been good, by the way. Like that is a recipe for disaster right there. Yeah. Big MILF energy. Yep. Okay. But yeah, that kind of wraps it for Ahar in season 2. But we still got a few more to touch on because there is Vigilantes, Apocalypse Hotel, Food for the Soul, Windbreaker, To Be Hero X, and Umusume. So My Hero Academia Vigilantes. This was an interesting episode because we have one of America's heroes coming over to Japan. And as much as I do hate that there are like some, not very nice caricatures of Americans going abroad in a lot of things, I can't say that they're not accurate. Like, my countrymen are just dicks for some reason whenever they want to go to another country. So, like, I apologize to everyone who has ever had to experience an American going abroad. But, like, I don't know what it is in the water over here that just makes everyone feel like they can be an asshole to the rest of the world. But that's a thing, apparently. And we get that with Captain Celebrity this episode. He basically decides that he's going to come to Japan to try and rehabilitate his image after a bunch of scandals ruin him in America. So good for him. Of course, we get Koichi being jealous because Senpai is around, and he wishes he had the same level of power. Not a nice portrayal, but not inaccurate. Yes, that is effectively my issue with it. Because like Ivan and Weaves and Waifus has talked about this, where like there have been like issues of like Americans going to like Mexico and then like getting really pissy at like street musicians and stuff who have been there like all their lives. And yeah, I don't know what it is about Americans that think like their culture has to be everywhere. Everyone has to respect them. Like I don't I genuinely don't get it. And it really annoys me that these are the people in like that come from my country to other like countries around the world. And that is the impression that everyone gets of us, because guess what? Most Americans aren't actually like that. It's just that the ones who are, for some reason, prone to going abroad seem to think that, or I should say, the ones who have the money to go abroad and do stuff like that are boomers, and boomers are assholes. But I digress. So basically, we get Koichi jealous of Captain Celebrity. We do get the thing getting like the whole thing getting turned around on Captain Celebrity, much to his annoyance. And then of course his lies to his mother. And now it seems like Pop Step might be trying to take advantage of the lie about the girlfriend to try and actually, you know, pretend to be his girlfriend and all that, or at least she seems like he's or it seems like she is interested in playing the role. Which is funny because her being jealous is one of the more entertaining things of this whole series. Pop Step, even though she isn't really a part of the group per se, is still one of like the better characters in this. That said, like I've genuinely enjoyed Vigilante's more mature and grounded way of dealing with the world than My Hero Academia's. It's basically been a street level crime fighter the whole time instead of a save the world, Deku. And I like that about it. It's still got its goofy My Hero Academia isms, like the soccer quirk. Fuck that. But it's a good show overall. I'm probably more likable than the original My Hero Academia, if I'm being honest. Apocalypse Hotel. Oh. I like the senpai, but I kind of want him to end up with Pop Step. Same. I am 100% in agreement with you there. And you know what? Just for that, I'll give you the clip. Where is it? Okay, here we go.
Is that right? You could be right. You're so right!
There you go. Satoru Gojo agrees. Apocalypse Hotel. This is one that has been genuinely good. Especially in the later half. So we get the whole like cyberpunk tank girl thing happening in this episode with like the mecha battle and all that. But one of the things I was kind of looking forward to with the series is, are we ever going to see like grown up Ponko? Are we ever going to see like, are they going to skip ahead to a point where she's actually grown up? And surprise, surprise, they actually did that. So now we are in the point where like Ponko is an adult. Yachio going full rebel was that part was funny. And then of course you had a really well animated and meaningful battle throughout this whole thing. With the whole mecha thing going on. It was a good episode. Like genuinely one of my favorite episodes of anime this week. So it's moved up a bunch. It's like it's hard not to enjoy this one when it keeps putting out good stuff. Like it's just genuinely been much better than I ever expected it to be. It did a lot of things well this episode, I will say. Food for the soul. We got 4 more people. We can do this. So, food for the soul. We get this episode is probably my favorite episode of this. Next to the episode where Nana is introduced, because this episode focuses pretty heavily on Nana. I do agree. I feel like the tank thing and the hands do need to go back to normal, or at least somewhat normal, because I feel like those are just going to get old real fast. So with Food for the Soul, we get Nana's chameleon this episode, which was kind of funny. When it first showed the empty cage, I thought it was going to be a bird. And it turns out it's a chameleon, and we get the whole thing where she's like trying to prevent her sister from finding out that the chameleon is outside of the cage. I really enjoyed that. There was the whole air conditioning thing that happened, and then Nana being really, really shy around the other the farming club girl or the agriculture club girl. Damn. Oh boy. Okay. Oh. But like this was, as far as Food for the Soul goes, this was genuinely a funny episode to me. One of the funnier ones this whole episode. And of course, like, look, I'm not really like huge on like specifically veggie dishes, and that's a problem I have. But they actually made like the deep fried like vegetables and stuff look really, really appetizing in this one. Like I genuinely wanted to eat that part. So like, hey, hats off. It was a good episode, but I won't be moving it around. Did I ever touch on Fire Force? Did I skip Fire Force somewhere in here? I did. I forgot about 2 anime. Shit. 2 whole anime that I forgot to touch on. I suck. Okay. Fire Force, Kowloon, Generic Romance is the ones I apparently forgot. We'll get back to where we were. Sorry, but I gotta do these. So, Fire Force. We get to meet Arthur's parents again. As he's on his quest for a new sword. They find the old cone, like the nose cone for a rocket, and they decide that they're going to melt that down and forge a new sword for Arthur. And they actually give him a proper sword this time, which is interesting. And it looks cool. But in all of this, Arthur's parents are kind of assholes. Like they abandoned him once, left him because he wouldn't be able to survive in the Nether, had 3 more kids in the Nether after that, and then abandoned him again. Like, holy crap. Of course, there is this weird thing with delusion being a power. And Arthur's father basically being in the know on everything that is happening in the Tokyo Empire, which is kind of crazy, but they don't actually like use that or anything. It's just kind of like something that happens there, and then he's gone. And of course, in all of this, Shinra goes or finds a way to travel to Adola, or at least enter Adola some way. Now, I really like genuinely do like Arthur focused episodes. I find them funny when it comes into this because Arthur is my favorite character in this whole series. Arthur and Benimaru are like the 2 reasons I continue to watch this show. So I was satisfied with it. It's just one of those things where I feel like the whole parent thing could have been done much better. Parents of the year. So yeah, this is one where it's gonna stay right here in the interesting category. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I've been disappointed by this season, but it's been getting a little bit better. Oh, pardon me. Yes, that's kind of how I feel about it. It was funny, but with those parents, damn. Like, yeah. Okay. We'll move on though to Kowloon generic romance because that is one that I do need to touch on. So we find out a lot about what some of the things that have been said in this episode. We find out why you're not supposed to eat the food in Kowloon. That is a very important thing. There is now an assassination plot going on. Like, what the fuck? There are so many factions involved in this whole thing that, like, what the heck is going on, man? Like, everyone now has their sights set on Reika. And of course, Kudo can't seem to keep it together because every time he's around her, he's reminded of his dead fiance. So he's just going to up and bail again. Man, with everything that's going on, like, I doubt that this is going to be like a really, really happy resolution. So I'm just preparing to get hurt by some of this stuff. Like, what the heck is going on now? Why is Reika like the focus of all this? What is so important about the generics? Is there some way to make her real again? Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with this? And I find it very intriguing the way that this whole thing is playing out. Although in the later episodes, we've been getting a bunch of information on it. So it feels like it is really getting ready to just like end it all in one fell swoop. But yeah, I was really hoping to get a little bit more of the Reika Kudo romance in this as well. Like, I kind of hoped that would be a more consistent thing, especially after the way they ended the last episode. But unfortunately, yeah, he had to bail right at the end. Okay. All right. I think that does cover all of our bases up until where we were, which the next one to talk about is Windbreaker. So with Windbreaker, I like this series. They've tied a lot of the character work and like the groundwork it'll do into the fights. I genuinely do enjoy that kind of stuff. The way it weaves the characters' motivations and like their whole point in the story into the fights that they're actually participating in. That makes the fights that much better. And the animation, of course, is pretty good, and the choreography and all that. It all is a very cinematic experience, but like this world feels like a very dystopian one at times with the way it's all structured. Like people in different sections being like so in like such radically different condition. Like you can have the region controlled by Beaufree, which just seems normal. And then, of course, there's this district that they're in now, which is like super affluent and all that. And then, of course, you have this district that is like dirt poor and everyone's like living in rundown. It just feels really weird to see something like that. Maybe I'm just not as familiar with cities as I should be because I'm a country bumpkin. But it's just not something that feels natural. And it doesn't help that there are a lot of things about this world that just don't make sense. Like, where are all the teachers? What is going on with all of this? Where are the police? I enjoyed this episode, especially with the twins fighting and Tsubaki and crew all having some like dance style to the way they fight. But I don't think that this is the strongest that the series has been. I don't give a shit about any of the bad guys. Same with the new one. I feel like the new one has definitely been the weakest, and most of the bad guys have effectively been tied to something with one of the like main good guy main characters. Like we had the Keel stuff. I really liked the bad guys in the Keel arc because you had some sort of interest in them due to what they were doing to one of our characters' friends. I enjoyed the stuff with the orange jacket guys because there was some actual interesting character stuff done with that made them seem more human and more interesting. The latest, I don't know, the latest group of bad guys have just kind of been bastards. But maybe that'll change in the next couple of episodes. That said, it's going to stay right there. I have no reason to move it up or down. So, tis what it is. Now we'll get to the last two. First of which being To Be Hero X. So I'm finally caught up on this one. Like all the way caught up. I believe the last episode that aired was 8. And we're just now getting into the Lucky Cyan thing. Look, when it comes to this, To Be Hero X is a very good series. And I do think like it goes up to the very good category. But the reason it's not a must watch to me is because it feels like it is, I don't know, overly tragic at times. It feels like it spends a lot of time like not really being very happy or happy. There's a lot of stuff that just kind of hurts emotionally. And while I don't mind that, I feel like I don't know, maybe some of the characters could use a win here or there. Especially the stuff with Esol. Like that stuff, oof. Genuinely oof. There are a lot of good elements to this. And as far as writing goes, it's nothing to turn your nose up at. It's written far better than a lot of anime that are out right now. And this is another thing is to some extent I can understand what they're doing. Because look at this. It's interesting how they've done this. So they did the whole Ling Li thing, okay? And they get to the end and then you have Moon getting killed. By who? By Esol. Or at least that's who you come to find out because it's the exact same armor you see right at the end of the Esol thing. So I have a suspicion. And then, of course, we get all the stuff with Lucky Cyan, which is tied into the Esol arc as well, with him being focused on that Lucky Cyan concert. And then we get removed there's Lucky Cyan appears right at the end of that arc. And we get that whole thing about her backstory and how she became an idol. So now we're going to start seeing some of the stuff with her and how that's going to tie into a lot of this other stuff. Interesting. So I don't think it's strictly just some like anthology thing. I feel like it's going to tie together in the future. And I'm interested to see where it's going to go. But it feels very tragedy heavy. Like there isn't a lot of like stuff that I don't know, makes me feel like I want to keep watching this because I won't get hurt. No, this one's gonna hurt. It's just gonna be ripping the band-aid off every single freaking time. Like every time something starts to go good, no, it doesn't. It is not a bad anime by any means. But the tragedy heavy side of it, which is ironic coming from someone who loves Berserk, the tragedy heavy side of it just feels kind of hard to swallow at times. That is effectively my impression of it. And that, of course, brings us to Uma Musume. With this one, I'm about 4 episodes in so far. And with Uma Musume, I'll put it here. I like the characters, okay? Like, as far as Uma Musume goes, the characters are entertaining. Particularly Ogiri Cap and Belna Light. I forget Bella Light. I forget what her name is. The other girl in the club. Those two are entertaining, particularly Ogiri Cat because like she's the kind of character when it comes to these sports anime that I enjoy the most. She is actually putting in effort. She has a genuine talent and a lot of skill in what she does. And it doesn't feel like it's just unearned. Like you can actually genuinely tell that there is effort put into everything that she does. So you actually get the sense that you want to root for her, but she's an endearing character in the way that she is presented because she's a bit of an adult at times and has her quirky personality. All of that blends into making a character that you really do genuinely want to root for. And that's a good thing for sports anime like this. The animation is good. Okay? But other than that, like I'm not super invested in the horse race thing. Like I could care less. I'm really more so here because I enjoy the character of Ogiri Cap. Or Oguri Cap. Gray Peak, whatever you want to call it. Our main character. That's really why I am probably going to continue watching this series. Though the racing part of it, nah. Okay, it has some good animation and all of that. But like really the big part that I find entertaining is just Augury Cap being crazy. And that's about it. That is where we are at for anime this season. And we're kind of winding down to like the end of the season. I think we're on like episode 8 or 9 on most of these. So we're getting pretty close to finished on a lot of them. Hopefully we can have some fun talking about some of like the better ones of the season. But for now, this is where we're at. The horse girl bias is still going strong. It's by no means a bad show. Like I can see why people would actually like watch it. But it's by no means my favorite. It's just one of those things that's going to have to be a thing. I know I said I had some articles, but I don't really know if I want to cover them tonight because I've been going for about 2 hours now and I do want to, get away from here. And it's not like I'm super interested in the stuff. It's just kind of like one of those backup things that I grabbed in case that there was a reason to go over them. So maybe some other time. Oops. But for now, I feel like I kind of want to end it there. It's one of those nights, man. Just one of those nights. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it there. Hopefully I'll be able to get caught up on Uma Musume next week. I also will be trying to see Dandadan in theaters this week because that's going to be coming out on. It's going to be starting on Thursday. Hopefully I'll be able to get into the theater Thursday, check that out, and not hate myself afterward because I'm going to have to go to a 9:45 showing. 9:45 p.m., by the way. But that said, I hope you've all enjoyed yourself. Thank you, everyone who showed up, who listened in, who tagged along, everyone who participated. I appreciate you. Like, genuinely, thank you. Your support is much appreciated. If you enjoyed this, leave a like. Check out some of my other stuff if you are not a long-time viewer or any of that jazz. and like look forward to some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing this week. You can also follow me on Twitter at Crimson Lawson if you're really terribly interested in doing so. And I'm kicking around some other ideas I want to do and trying to work on some like proper video essays and stuff to put on the channel. So it's not just my usual anime reviews, but some actual like meaningful content to talk about some more in-depth stuff. That being said, I hope all of you have a great night. And I look forward to seeing you in another week when we have another week worth of anime to dissect and talk about. Later.
Hibana-chan.